Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing fantastic out there this morning and having a great start to your day. A great weekend out there so far. Got you some updated information about what's going to happen weather-wise between now and the next 1 to 2 days. We'll even probably go all the way out to about Tuesday morning for certain areas of the country, as we're expecting some ice that's going to move into the upper Midwest and even areas of the Ohio Valley. But a heavy topic in this morning's video is going to be discussing this ice storm that's going to really begin as early as this evening into the overnight hours, lasting all the way into our Tuesday for certain areas of the country. So we'll get very detailed on that one last time. We'll zoom into individual regions, re-show those graphics that we showed in last night's video from the National Weather Service, and just kind of give you guys some an updated idea of how much ice certain areas are going to get. I think we'll have school closings in certain areas of the country because of this, like Oklahoma, Arkansas, even up into Missouri. So yeah, we'll break it down one last really good time for you folks, and then we'll discuss the rest of the lower 48 also. I do want to mention I will not have a video this evening. If you tuned into last night's video, I mentioned that my family is going to be heading back from Atlanta to Columbia this morning, and definitely asking for prayers they get from there back home safely. But you know, just I haven't seen my family in about 2 days, so I definitely am missing them, and just going to take the night off and doing a video. And thankfully, it's not incredibly active as far as any kind of crazy significant weather. We do have the ice storm, but I'm going to give you guys some really good information for you folks that need the information across the south central U.S. with the ice storm. But definitely we'll be taking tonight off, just with the family coming back into town and just seeing my girls. So, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. Have not had a chance to answer the comments from the last 2 or 3 videos, if you count this video that I'm doing right now. But I will get caught up with everything probably this afternoon, probably a late morning sometime, early afternoon frame. So, you know, I'll be able to answer any comments and pray over all the prayer requests that were left for sure. So let's get rocking and rolling. So we do still have some lake effect energy going off the Great Lakes, but in general, it's gotten a lot quieter over this region of the country. We still have a little bit of northwest flow, snow going on, like in West Virginia. I saw a snow icon where somebody was still reporting some light snow in areas of West Virginia. So I definitely think that'll taper off later today. We do have moisture out west because of this upper trough that's extending all the way into the southwest, and this is what's actually going to funnel in the moisture into still some lingering Arctic air across the south central U.S., and that's what's going to give us our freezing rain event. And if you're wondering, Mitch, why are we getting freezing rain? Go back to last night's video, and you know, there's probably going to be a tab. I think I labeled it "Why Freezing Rain," and we discuss in great detail why we're getting freezing rain from this and not like more so sleet or snow. I kind of really break it down for you folks the best way that I can. But a lot of moisture scattered and smothered out here across the Rockies and the western U.S. Yes, I would love some Waffle House right now, so a little bit of a Waffle House reference. But, you know, it's a warmer system. I mean, we do have the trough, but we still got this ridge, and this trough is going to kind of, this upper trough of low pressure going to become cut off, and we still got, in general, just warmer than average conditions across a lot of the west. Not very warm, warmer than average, but in general, warmer than average temperatures. But moving past this, the risk of thunderstorms today, you know, you do have a general risk across Texas. As things begin to warm up across this area, it'll be pretty cool across, like a pretty cold day, just a very cold, rainy day across North Texas. But, you know, the further into like southern sections of the state you get, the warmer it is. And then we do have a risk of maybe some rumbles of thunder across the California coastline and even down here like Tucson, Arizona. So, but no risk of severe weather so far. It's been a pretty calm winter as far as severe weather so far. Besides what we had happen in Tennessee back in December, outside of that, it's been pretty quiet. Rainfall, there is a slight risk, a larger slight risk than yesterday. This, you know, yellow area means there's at least a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being met within 25 miles in any given location. So we do need to watch out for a little bit of a flash flooding risk that extends pretty much all along the California coastline, all the way up here to like the extreme southwest corner of Oregon, all the way down to San Diego. So watches, warnings, and advisories, and there it is. There's your slug of winter weather advisories that extend from areas of North Texas all the way into the heart of Illinois. I expect this to get extended all the way into Chicago, maybe even Indianapolis and northern Indiana as we get into the second half of today. But if you look really closely, that purple, remember I mentioned that in last night's video if you tuned in, that I did think we would get some ice storm warnings. We do have some ice storm warnings out there in that dark purple. And then we have winter storm warnings up for areas like Fort Smith. So you ask, why winter storm warnings? Why ice storm warnings? Typically they issue winter storm warnings, if they think that there could be a little bit of sleet mixed in. Maybe a little bit of snow mixed in. So if they think there's going to be more of a wintry mix in those areas, they'll go with a winter storm warning over the ice storm warning. Typically, they'll issue the ice storm warning when they think the dominant precipitation type is going to be freezing rain. So that's kind of the difference there. So maybe where you got winter storm warnings, and we'll kind of zoom into these areas here in a second. You might get a little sleet mixed in, but you still got some winter storm watches up. I do think the common theme here is that they might issue like some ice storm warnings into Oklahoma a little bit later. I do think that's possible. Let's talk about the southeast though first. These are temperatures right now. Let's update this, see if anything's changed. These are temperatures right now. I mean, you're around 1, 2, 3 degrees in Nashville, even extending into the northern section of the Cumberland Plateau. I mean, you're down below zero. Mid-teens all the way down to Birmingham. I mean, 19 degrees down here in Jackson. Look how cold it is all the way to the Gulf shoreline, all the way into the mid-20s in Mobile, Alabama. Sub-freezing temperatures all the way down here to New Orleans, Baton Rouge. And then you look at the Carolinas and areas of Georgia and Virginia. Like I said, I mean, it's about down to 15 degrees at my house here in Columbia, which is pretty cold. But, single digits in the mountains. You're in the low teens in Atlanta, Charlotte, low teens. It's pretty cold out there. Coldest morning of the winter east of the Appalachian Mountains for sure. As far as precipitation today, though, there won't be any. If there was, it'd probably be winter weather. That would be great. But, you're getting – now, I know you folks in Tennessee probably don't agree. You're ready to thaw out, I think. I'm starting to see a lot of comments saying, even from winter weather fans, saying, all right, man, we're ready for this to be gone. But we're getting into this afternoon. I don't expect a whole lot of melting today. But the thing that people don't realize is, you can have, 20 degrees for a high temperature. And you can still get some melting if there's full sunshine. It's just the radiant heat sometimes, gets the melting going anyways, So, I had a buddy up in southeastern sections of Kentucky that's got several inches of snow on the ground. And he said he was really surprised by the amount of melting that occurred yesterday. And the high only hit 20 degrees. And, when you get full sunshine, it's just a different ballgame. It heats up those surfaces a lot more than the actual air temperature. So. But, you're moving to this evening. There's not a lot going on. We will discuss this pink entering your screen here in a second when we get to the south central frame. But not a whole lot going on today, folks. There really isn't. It's very quiet weather. High pressure dominating. Could get some wraparound moisture into Texas that we're waking up to tomorrow. There I go calling Florida, Texas again. I'm good to do that at least a couple times a week. Some wraparound moisture into the eastern sections of Florida as possible as we're waking up for a Monday morning. Northeast, it's very quiet also, getting all the way to midday this afternoon, this evening. Little bits of snow shower activity possible that could kind of drift downstream into, Lake Ontario. Could deliver some snow showers, maybe into the Tuck Hill Plateau this evening, maybe up to Watertown. But I don't expect much from this at all. But there could be a little bit more lake effect snow than what's showing up. I heard that Lake Erie is 29% frozen now. I do think we'll lose some of that ice as we have our January thaw, but this cold blast has begun to freeze up portions of Lake Erie now, which is pretty normal in a normal winter. But it's felt a little bit more like a normal winter. But it was so warm back in December that we're kind of making up for lost time here in these cold shots with January. But the south central U.S., this is the frame where we'll spend a little bit of time on. We're worried about an ice storm, and here's the precipitation starting up. I think we can have a wintry mix here in western sections of Texas a little bit later this morning, if you're not already getting it already. And then as we get into this afternoon, we're starting to get to 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's still enough cold air hanging around. Could start to have a little bit of light freezing rain right around the Texarkana area. It's quite possible. If it's not freezing rain, it'll be a very chilly rain. But by the time we're getting into about 6, 7 p.m., all right, here's that freezing rain starting for like Oklahoma City, starting to move into Tulsa, kind of one round and then a heavier round behind it. And yes, temperatures will be very marginal around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So yeah, I mean, you could get a light glaze in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Not expecting much in this area, though. I don't think there's going to be any issues with any kind of, travel concerns or anything like that in the Dallas area. But here comes this round of freezing rain getting late into the season, 9, 10 p.m. Push of freezing rain moves into the Springfield area. Could get some freezing rain about the middle of the night tonight, all the way up into Kansas City. Freezing rain falling in northern and northwestern sections of Arkansas, Fayetteville, Fort Smith. And this continues, and this freezing rain begins to overspread all the way into St. Louis. Even some freezing rain into Columbia, Missouri, not South Carolina, Missouri. But this is 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and this is some pretty heavy freezing rain falling around the Tulsa region, Fort Smith, Fayetteville. And I do think as we start to get kind of, I would say 7, 8, 9 a.m., I think that you start to warm up here in like the southwest sections of Arkansas. So, you might get some freezing rain overnight, but by the time you're getting into early to mid-morning, it'll be over, I think. But man, this is a solid slug of freezing rain moving into southern and southeast sections of Missouri. I mean, this pink is just all freezing rain, folks. And then the purple and tropical tidbits is sleet, and the blue is snow. But some lingering freezing rain is possible. But I mean, guys, by the time you get into 11 a.m. tomorrow, this is in Eastern time, so back it up 1 hour for Central time. I mean, you're switching to all rain. I think there'll be some higher elevations, some areas that will hang on to that freezing rain for longer of a period of time. But, for most of Arkansas, by the time you get into about midday tomorrow, it's looking like you just got rain, a cold rain falling. No more rain falling at temperatures below 32 degrees at the surface. But this kind of continues up here, and we'll kind of get more into this frame up here as we get into the north central time frame. And then you start to just get good old rain as we're getting into Monday afternoon. And in this area of the country, you're going to get several inches of rain over the next few days. But, you look at the temperatures and the worst of the storm, which I would say is going to be anywhere from like 4 to 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. This is around 4 to 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. This is freezing rain falling at very marginal temperatures, folks. I mean, you got 29, 30, 31 degrees. This is not freezing rain falling at like 20 degrees at 15 degrees. Now, it's a good bit colder up here in Missouri. This is going to cause some bigger issues in Missouri, I think, and northern Arkansas, where temperatures might hang out in the upper 20s and 30 degrees. Like I said, I've mentioned this many times when it comes to freezing rain. Once you start to get temperatures like below about 30 degrees into the 20s, and you getting the freezing rain falling, that's when you can start to have issues on the roadways. You get freezing rain falling at about 30, 31, 32 degrees, not as much issues on the road, but you can still have it. Just a half a degree can make a huge difference. It really can in these situations. But just a little bit of lingering Arctic air. Dallas-Fort Worth area, tonight could drop to about 31, 32 degrees. We'll see what happens there. But, man, just a very chilly, raw day in the Dallas area. All these areas are going to be seeing rain, but with temperatures in the 30s. The definition of just a cold rain. But you can see those temperatures beginning to rise up in here. And, I mean, by the time, folks, you get into, like, the afternoon time frame, these areas that experience freezing rain, somebody might get into, like, the mid to upper 40s. So you're going to get a lot of freezing rain overnight in these areas. Might cause some issues, but I mean, by the time you get into about the afternoon time frame tomorrow afternoon, I mean, it's thawing out big time. Look at you thawing out in Tennessee tomorrow. So, this is ice totals, kind of a broad look at it between now and early next week, and it really likes this area of Oklahoma, eastern Oklahoma, northwest sections of Arkansas, and then we're starting to get some totals creeping to a near a quarter of an inch, even here in southern Missouri. Even a little bit of ice up here in Kansas. If you're not familiar with ice totals, once you start to get to about a quarter inch or higher, that's when you start to get into that danger zone, that zone where the tree limbs begin to sag, they can snap, break on these power lines, and that's when we start to get those power outages. So we zoom into some graphics. Excuse me for clearing my throat so much here. This is a graphic out the National Weather Service in Dallas, and they're thinking that in this region right here, Paris, Gainesville, it could get 5/100ths of an inch of ice. Somebody might squeeze in 1/10 of an inch of ice up here in the most and northern extents, kind of up here near the Red River, well north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You know, we go out of the National Weather Service out of Norman, going for about, you know, maybe as high as 1/10 of an inch of ice in Oklahoma City, but you go down to Ada, you know, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, Ardmore, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch, Durant, 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch of ice, Lawton, 1/10 to 1/4 inch of ice. So once you start to get into this red area right here, this is when we can start to have some power outages. And they do have a discussion over here, you know, speaking on the situation, and even these areas will warm well above freezing by the time we get into tomorrow afternoon. Freezing rain totals out the Tulsa region and all the areas they cover. Tulsa, I mean, 1/10 to 1/4 inch of ice expected. Muskogee, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of ice. Fort Smith, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of ice. Same thing in Fayetteville. So this is going to be a nasty, quick-hitting ice storm for this area. But yeah, I mean, it's going to do some damage quick and then head on out. Hopefully it doesn't do that much. Hopefully this system does not verify on the high end, you know, which I would consider, if anybody gets 1/2 inch of ice, that is definitely the high end. But I mean, look all the way down here, like well south of Tulsa, McAllister, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch of ice. And I do think down here in Texarkana can get some ice too. But, you know, they're not forecasting much. I know there's multiple Texarkanas, but Fayetteville, there it is, 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. Russellville, kind of around the same thing, but I would aim more so 1/4 inch of ice and maybe a light glaze into the Little Rock area. You go to Springfield, they have increased some totals, but Springfield, Missouri, 1/4 inch is a high end, you know, 1/10 of an inch, maybe the low end. Joplin, they have increased the ice totals in this region. And, you know, Avon in Missouri could get 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch also. So, yeah, I mean, there's definitely some appreciable and noticeable and impactful ice totals in southern and southwestern Missouri as we move into the heart of this system. So, what about the north central U.S.? Not much going on through the day. We're getting into this evening. A little bit of freezing rain, wintry mix action in southern and southeast sections of South Dakota. I could get some light freezing rain even to the Minneapolis area later this evening. A little very weak system kind of flying across the upper Midwest. And then if you look down here at the bottom of your screen, this is when some freezing rain begins to overspread into Kansas City, even all the way into northern Missouri, southeast sections of Iowa. And by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning, this is when we're going to go a little bit more into Monday and Tuesday. Freezing rain's beginning to move into Illinois. And, you know, we'll go on and just kind of zoom into this region. And here it is. I mean, a solid slug of freezing rain starts to move in. You could begin to get some appreciable ice totals in this area. These are regions that are going to struggle to get above freezing. And you kind of get into Monday afternoon, you're thinking this isn't going to may really make it into Indiana that much, but freezing rain falling in extreme western sections of Indiana, even a little bit of snow and wintry mix up here in southern sections of almost called Montana, of Michigan. And then we start to get into this evening. This is when we can get some light freezing rain to Indianapolis tomorrow evening. Even some freezing rain getting into the Cleveland area, northwestern sections of Iowa and western sections of Ohio. Sorry, folks. I got way too much sleep last night. So there I go again. Western sections of Ohio and northwestern sections of Ohio could get some freezing rain as early as tomorrow evening. And then you start to get into the middle of the night tomorrow night. I'm talking about like 1 a.m. Tuesday morning. And, I mean, you got an all-out freezing rain event ongoing across. Now, you can see there's some warm air getting involved into St. Louis where you're just getting a very cold rain. But, I mean, Chicago, you start to get a solid period of freezing rain in the middle of the night tomorrow night. Indianapolis, all this kind of purple, pinkish color, that is freezing rain falling for the entire central and northern half of Indiana. And even a solid extension of freezing rain all the way into the northern half of Ohio. And even freezing rain in the final frame entering sections of southern Michigan. So, you kind of keep this going here. And we look at it a little bit further north, and this will continue to overspread. And we'll continue to deal with the freezing rain waking up Tuesday morning. I mean, all the way into Cleveland, Detroit. Some freezing rain is going to be falling north of Detroit. This will be snow most likely, maybe a wintry mix. Still dealing with freezing rain Tuesday morning in Chicago. And then you keep this going, and maybe a little bit of cold air aloft starts to work in, and you kind of erode that warm nose. And then we start to maybe get a period of snow based off the GFS. maybe into the Milwaukee area, getting into the heart of Michigan. And this snow could be heavy. We'll see what happens with this. Midday Tuesday, it's starting to kind of show a heavier period of snow from, southern sections of Wisconsin, even switching to snow in Chicago, some moderate snow all the way back here in the central and eastern sections of Iowa. And this is a pretty heavy slug of snow into central Michigan. And then we start to get into Tuesday evening. This kind of heads on out, and then we're done with it until another system tries to move through. But folks, they've increased the ice totals up here in the Ohio Valley. I mean, they're going for over 1/10 of an inch of ice now in Chicago. They want to say that someone could get upwards to 1/4 inch of ice in northern Indiana, southern sections of Michigan. I mean, even going for about 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch of ice here in northwestern sections of Ohio. So, I mean, this is the area of the country that doesn't typically see as much freezing rain. I mean, you definitely aren't exempt from getting freezing rain events, but typically this time of the year you get more so snow up here. But this is going to be a solid freezing rain event for areas of the Ohio Valley also. We can't just ignore you guys, and we'll kind of give you guys some updated information on that as we wake up tomorrow morning, kind of fine-tune everything. Even as we're getting into tomorrow morning, I don't think the meat of this system will be beginning, so we'll be able to get very updated with you folks on this one last time for tomorrow morning's video. But even the snow, folks, I mean, they're going for about 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches of snow now in Milwaukee. But there's going to be a stripe of 1 to 3 inches of snow from, like, I would say central to really kind of eastern sections up against Lake Michigan shoreline of snow. A few inches of snow into Michigan. You could get a dusting of snow. I think it'll be more so ice into Detroit, maybe a wintry mix. But you go up here into like north central sections of lower Michigan, a few inches of snow is possible between now and about Wednesday evening. Out west, just a lot of scattered moisture. And we keep this going through about the morning into the afternoon time frame. Some of this could be heavy. Some rumbles of thunder along the California coastline are possible. And just more of a convective element to this, meaning you could get those rumbles of thunder, maybe a flash of lightning. But this continues, and then we'll get even more heavier rain that moves in overnight tonight along the central California coastline. Eventually, all the way down to San Diego. I mean, we're going to get some heavy rain that pushes in for our Monday morning, even down here. And just a lot of moisture. And it's just because we have this trough that's extending all the way into the western U.S., bringing pretty much a solid moist flow of just rain and higher elevation snow. And speaking of the snow, this is still a really warm system, so you got to get way on up there, up into the Rockies, the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades to get any appreciable snowfall. But I would say the snow levels are a little bit lower where you have this associated kind of upper low across the southwestern U.S., but they're not that low up here in like the Pacific Northwest, but still you will continue to add in that solid snowpack over the next 48 hours. But as far as precipitation, a lot of it. I mean, look at California. We'll go on and zoom into California. I mean, between now and Tuesday morning, they're going for over 1 inch of rain in San Diego. I mean, you typically don't see that much rain down here in the entire California coastline, folks. I mean, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain is possible. So definitely getting some rain. Even to Death Valley, you'll get some rain. So temperatures today, another cold day for sure. It will be a little bit warmer compared to yesterday, but I do think areas like Tennessee points north will continue to struggle to get above the freezing mark. So, little melting will occur today, but I do think a little bit will happen. It was wild looking at the satellite over areas of the Mid-South, how you still had all that snow and sleet on the ground. Pretty unreal to think about. We typically don't have it chilling on the ground this long here in the South, but here it is. There's that pocket of colder air where moisture begins to move in that you'll struggle to get above freezing today in these areas. So this is what sets the stage of that freezing rain event over here as this Arctic air mass is kind of leaving the area, but still a very cold day, frigid day in the Northeast. Very cold day for Southeast standards also. Temperatures only in the 30s and 40s for highs, and it'll be very cold in the Florida too. Temperatures out west definitely getting warmer in general. I mean, you'll get into the 50s all the way into Montana. But yeah, stay tuned to your local people out here for sure. That's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and I'll talk to you again Monday morning.